Marco Martin, he believes he's capable of winning.
Some people think he was not, and he was a very, very good test driver.
Yeah.
And he immediately, you know, both would start on different days, different testing, and they'll end up in the same thing.
Yeah.
Obviously, Carlos then will ask, what is Colin using? Colin will ask what Carlos used. Normally, what you're doing on the team, you know, you always want to know what your team member, teammate is doing. But Colin was a very, very good test driver.
Yeah, no, he had very good technical understanding, and you know, but he probably came to the conclusion quicker what he wanted than Carlos. For Carlos, it took like the whole day and half of the night as well to decide what he wanted.
Yeah, but I remember, for example, David Lapworth saying once to me, you know, Luis, if I want to develop a car, I will tell Colin to start with and Carlos to do the end. Because Carlos will never stop trying to find the last bit, you know. He always thought the car could be better. Even if we were winning the rally, he was already thinking, and at the end of every rally we were making a list of things to improve, how to do this, how to do that.
Yeah.
Even if the car was perfect and we were winning stages and winning rallies, he would still think, I'm sure I can do better than this.
And I remember at the tests I observed sometimes that Carlos stayed in a car between the changes, you know, quite often, like a long, like a diff change or something like that, and he stayed in a car, even though it was increased like 35 degrees or whatever.
Yeah.
Most of the time he stayed in a car and waited until it got changed, and then he continued driving. For me, it was quite.
But that was a reason for that, and the reason said, Luis, when I make important change, I don't want to move my position at all. So then when I get back in the car again, I know that I'm exactly in the same position, I know exactly what I'm doing. And because he was, you know, sometimes in the teams at the beginning, always with the engineer, the first test with an engineer, it was never easy, because Carlos would tell the engineer normally comes and says, well, the paper says this, so the computer says that. At the beginning was papers, later was computers. And then Carlos said, yeah, but my feeling is different. But until the engineer realized how good Carlos was testing, because for me he was the best test driver, I mean, wherever he was, either we won the championship or the team won the championship somehow. You know, even in Dakar when he went to Volkswagen, you know, and when they choose Carlos to develop the Polo. I think in that respect, that's why I always say that to me. Obviously, it was with him for 15 years, but there is a time before and after Carlos in the World Rally Championship. Even though some drivers have won more than him, but I still believe that he made a big difference.
Yeah. I'm sure he was the hardest working driver. I don't know anybody else that was.